Hey guys, what's up? Producer engineer Alex Scott here with Consordini.com. Thank you guys so much for checking out another one of our studio gear reviews. Today we are going to be taking a look at a piece of gear that I picked up relatively recently, and I found it to be so useful and such an incredibly good deal that I could not tell you guys about it. We're going to be taking a look at the Alctron MP73 EQ. Now, what is it? It is a mic preamp and it is an equalizer. It's also a line level processor, so you can use it as a tool, an EQ tool during mixdown or anything like that. But it's really a part for part recreation of a Neve 1073 preamp and EQ module from the classic Neve consoles of old that everybody loves so much. They're widely regarded as the Rolls Royce of rock and roll. Some really incredible records have been made on Neve consoles. My personal favorite being Asia by Steely Dan, and countless others. I mean, more than you could possibly count at this point. The Neve consoles from that era, the late 60s, early 70s, are just, they're hallmarks of classic rock records that everybody knows and everybody loves. And with this particular unit, Alctron has taken the preamp and EQ circuit that was present in those original Neve channel strips and recreated it at an incredible price point that's really accessible to pretty much anybody. Project studios, home recordists like myself. If you're looking for a really fabulous preamp and EQ for your front end and something that's really going to give you amazing vintage tone, you should definitely take a look at this unit. I bought mine for, I think, around $400, and that, again, at that price, it's just a steal for what you're getting. They are manufactured overseas in China, and I believe that Alctron is a factory that actually makes OEM gear for a lot of other manufacturers. So a lot of people or a lot of companies who create, or who have Neve preamp clones like Golden Age Project and Vintech and companies like that. A lot of the, some of the more boutique ones are definitely made in the States or made in the UK, but a lot of companies are outsourcing the basic manufacturing to China, and Alctron is one of the main factories that they go to. So Alctron has decided to step away from being a kind of an OEM manufacturer and start offering their gear direct to consumers under their own brand name, which I think is actually really, really cool. Gear that's manufactured in China has a reputation of not being great quality, and I think that was true kind of for a long time, but anymore I keep seeing these products that are manufactured overseas and they're really, really great. I mean, genuinely, and this preamp is no exception. It sounds fabulous. The knobs feel great. It's got all the original frequency points from the original Neve channel strips. It's got the filter. It's got selectable impedance. It's got a DI input on the front and a line level input on the back. So, again, I use it as a front end for when I'm recording vocals or guitars or anything like that, but then I can also use it as a mixdown tool. So if somebody sends me a session to mix, I can put it as an insert on the vocal and use, get the tone of the preamp and get the tone of that EQ as a tool in my mixdown. I've even run entire masters through these things just for the transformer vibe, because they do have 3 transformers. They have an input transformer, an interstage transformer for the EQ, which is an inductor-based EQ, just like the original, and then an output transformer. So, and they're all wound to the original specs of the Mariner and St. Ives transformers that were used in the, the original Neve consoles. And, again, for the price of $400, what you're getting out of this unit is just absolutely fabulous. So what we're going to do now is turn the camera over. We have it racked up just at a frame right over here, and we're going to take a listen to how this thing sounds. Okay guys, so here we have our Alctron MP73 EQ. And you can see it is even vaguely Neve styled. We've got our awesome kind of Marconi style knobs in the classic maroon, red, gray, and blue. And it's, like I said, it's got all of the features that you would expect from an actual Neve unit, or even like a more modern, again, like a BAE or Heritage Audio kind of a unit. We've got, obviously, our mic gain, which also kind of serves as a line selector switch. So the further you get it over here, you go into mic and DI territory if you've got the DI switch engaged here. And then when you go over here, you actually put it into line mode for processing line level signals, and that's what we're going to be listening to. Then, DI switch, phantom power. Selectable impedance on your mic input, which is really handy, either 300 or 1.2K, depending on if you're using dynamics or condensers or ribbons. You can adjust the impedance a little bit. Phase reversal, and then we have an EQ in and out switch. And from what I understand, when it's out, you're mainly just running through the preamp input transformer and then the output transformer. And then when you switch in that EQ, it runs it through the whole EQ section, even if you have these EQ switches and filter switch off, okay? So if you want just a little bit of extra, oomph and coloration and stuff, you can engage that EQ. Now, in terms of EQ and frequencies and stuff, our filter, high-pass filter, works at 50, 80, 160, or 300. Low frequencies, 35, 60, 110, and 220. Low shelf boost. Mid frequencies, we have 360, 700, 1.5K, 2.2K, 4.8K, and 7.3K. And then for the high shelf, we have 3.4, 4.9, 7, 12, and 16. I love the sound of the 12K boost on this, especially for vocalists, female vocalists. And then finally, we have our output gain. So pretty straightforward. And again, all those classic frequencies from a lot of Neve modules over the span of time. So right now I've got just a simple drum track pulled up running mono through this top unit. And we're going to take a listen to a couple of things. So here's the filter. So you can hear it's real cleanly cutting out that low end. Obviously not something you'd use on drums, but let's go ahead and add some lows. A little 60. EQ bypassed. Nice low boost around 60. Sounds great. And let's add some top end. There's a little 7K. 12K. There's without and with. Again, just a really fabulous, really classic sounding EQ. Nice smooth, kind of a crispy top end. And then, really nice, rich, meaty low end down there at 60. So setting it flat, now I'm going to go ahead and set this guy up on a guitar track, okay? So we are just going to hear how it would work on some guitar. There's the filter again. You can hear it cleans up the low end really nicely if you want your guitar a little thinner. Boosting at 220. Some nice richness. And then a little bit of 4.9K to catch those upper frequencies on the guitar. So again, EQ out. And then EQ in. Now, I find this EQ to sound really, really fabulous on vocalists as well, especially for tracking. If I want to bring out the airiness in a female vocal, that 12K boost is just to die for. It's absolutely wonderful. But it sounds great on a lot of sources. Again, I will even run whole mixes or stereo buses through. I have a pair of them here, obviously, and they work great on stereo material. They're pretty well matched. All the switches feel really nice and high quality. You can hear, good and chunky. Everything is stepped. Well, not everything. I guess the boost and cuts are not stepped. But all your frequency selections are stepped. Your input gain is stepped. So that makes it really, really handy for like matching two units for stereo line level sources. And then, these being fully variable pots, they are pretty well matched. So, if I'm boosting there on both units, it does come out sounding pretty much exactly the same. One channel is not louder than the other. All right, so there you have it. The Alctron MP73 EQ. This, again, I'm just blown away that companies can be releasing this kind of gear, and these kinds of circuits for this little money and still keep it sounding great and really true to the original. You know, I've been blessed to use some both, you know, original vintage Neve stuff in studios, as well as some of the more modern recreations by like BAE and Heritage Audio and stuff like that, which are very high-end pieces. You know, we're talking thousands of dollars plus per channel. And it's, you know, do those sound just a little bit better? They do, sure. And, you know, there's a reason that they're expensive, and the build quality on them is bulletproof, and they're incredible units. But again, you know, when you're talking about spending $4,000 on a channel and getting whatever 100% of that original Neve sound, and then you spend $400 on something like this, and it might get you to 95%, is that last 5% really worth the 10 times markup in price? For some guys it is. If you're running a big commercial studio, obviously, you know, and you know, nothing but the best will do for you. Obviously, you're going to want to get an original vintage unit. You're going to want to get, you know, one of the really top of the line channel strips from AMS Neve, the modern version of Neve from BAE, something like that. But you know, for me, with what I do, because I work in a home studio, I do smaller projects, you know, working with a lot of like amateurs and local bands and all that kind of stuff. I want to have the option of a little bit of that tone, that classic Neve mojo, but I don't have the budget necessarily to spend all this money on this incredibly high-end boutique equipment. So it lets me keep my overhead really low, you know, looking at gear like this, which allows me to pass on savings to my clients who come in here and want to work with me. So from that perspective, stuff like this is just invaluable. You know, it gets you real close to that classic vintage tone, and it's, as you guys heard, you know, you plug a mic or you plug a source into this thing and it just immediately, it works all that subtle transformer saturation magic that just makes you smile and makes you think about some of those classic records that we all know and love. So, you know, I can't recommend this thing highly enough. I have read about some QC issues online in a few spots, some units that have developed hums and stuff, and that unfortunately is one of the downfalls of mass manufacturing and of, you know, gear that is this inexpensive. They do have to cut a few corners, so there's a bit of risk there. But I was lucky enough to order a pair. Well, I mean, lucky enough. I ordered a pair blind on reverb.com, and I have not had a single problem with either of them. In fact, the two units are matched close enough to stereo operate, or matched close enough to one another that I can use them on stereo sources. You know, they do work as a stereo pair. So I am over the moon about them. I think they're absolutely fabulous. But what do you guys think? We would love to hear anything you have to say in the comments down below. Do you like gear like this? Have you used any Alctron gear, or know of any other companies that have OEM stuff from Alctron that you've used? What do you think about this new advent of kind of cheaper clones or remakes of this vintage gear coming out? We'd love to hear any thoughts or opinions you guys have in the comments down below. We'd really appreciate hearing from you. Again, my name is Alex Scott with Consordini.com. Thank you guys so much for checking out this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you next time.